Mayfield and like, we got to move off this kid. He's the guy who handcuffs you for the next 10 years because he's just good enough, Kirk Cousins. I wasn't trying to run him out of town. I just said, I was like, if you think you can't get to the next level with this guy, we've seen examples of that before in the NFL. If Baker Mayfield has that much success, NFL championship game, how nuts is that? Nuts. 2 quarterbacks left for dead. Storyline writes itself, which does no favors for the whole, the NFL might be rigged, buddy. Right, like it does. I say Super Bowl? Maybe. Maybe. 2-time coach of the year, maybe save Stefanski, but you're probably moving off your GM at that. Which is then what? Well, more instability. New guy comes in and goes, well, I didn't draft him, I didn't draft him, I didn't draft him, I didn't draft him, I didn't draft him. And I gotta get my guys. I don't like this position coach, I don't like that coach. WFM by Scott. Scott now presented by Beavers Marine. They got some killer pricing going on right now. BeaversMarineStore.com. Never too early to start thinking about next summer. They're a great place to teach you how to have a little bit more fun with it. Nice enough to present Scott. Scott, a little bit of a travel issue. He was in Vegas for the game. We'll catch up with him again tomorrow. I got asked a lot about this. We have another now instance where a player's family member is calling out, I guess, the coaching staff, the play, the quarterback. Elijah Moore's dad now. 1 target the entire game, make it make sense, 95% open all the time, SM. This, he quote tweeted, which is him posting what the Cleveland Browns posted on his timeline, for people who don't use X a whole lot, where they were showing off a great play with Deshaun making a pretty good throw, being pretty critical. It's kind of that rerun moment. By the way, I seen this one. Because OBJ's dad, I believe it was, calling out Baker Mayfield, putting out video. Look at this missed throw. Look at this terrible throw. Look at this awful throw. And there are people who do kind of forget now, like the end of that Baker thing, again, like he wasn't playing great. Played hurt. Coming down the road. Because most people don't believe a player at Baker's level then would have enough pull to tell a coaching staff, I'm playing hurt no matter what. There are guys who can. I'm not sure Baker had enough clout. Meaning, did they put him out there on purpose? Get ready for those conversations to intensify as the season goes on and as Baker's success. How that goes will decide the temperature of some of those conversations that come. I would imagine. Could be wrong. Could be wrong. The family member calling out the thing, it's tough, man, because like I used to say all the time, and this isn't as serious as being a wide receiver in the NFL, obviously, but it's a public eye job, and people have opinions, and I always said it's like, just I'll handle it. Tell me what your concerns are, and I'll handle it. Once you don't get involved, like it doesn't help me, it doesn't help you, it doesn't help the radio station, it doesn't help anybody. It makes you feel better temporarily, But we live in a social media world now. World now. You're begging for when your son does not have his best moment. For win and lose together. That's what they're going to sell you in the locker room. We'll probably know this dude. And we don't have to rely on him all game, every play. And his biggest asset ever was what? Is that most running backs, doesn't sound like that much more, huge difference. If you're looking for Nick Chubb to be 110%, and I'm not yelling at anybody, I'm saying if we need Nick Chubb to be 110% of what he was pre-injury to help us right this ship, that is a lot to ask. If anybody could do it, Nick's one of them guys. Can't count him out. He could. I mean, I'm not telling you it's never going to happen. Those injuries, we've seen what happen. The body doesn't get younger, right? Like, there's most guys, notice I had them arguments. It would be that. And has earned let me see how it goes. Let me see how it goes. But if we need him to be 110% of what he was pre-injury, that's a lot to ask. I'm not sure you're going to get it. And this offensive line is still going to be okay. Because do those 6 yards happen post-injury and those offensive line issues? Because that's the punch you need from him to help you right that ship. I think that's a lot to ask. Do have Haunted Schoolhouse and Laboratory tickets. Let's get those passed out here next on Rock 106.9.
The Stansberry Show.
It's a play, you moron.
On Rock 106.9.
You're never too old for a good morning kiss.
All right, so occasionally with this profession, what you will need to do is speculate. You know, you will get some things right, you will get some things wrong, and that's part of the fun, you know. And depending on how you sell your thoughts and the like, will decide, how strongly they come back at you and, and the like. And a speculation I have made recently, last couple of months probably, is going to go through, it's like much of a problem this is, and we may even see them make the industry advertise against themselves, like what we saw with the Tobacco and the Truth campaign, and through pressure, like then, the reduction in consumption. I think the rise of marijuana, and already now the rise of the idea of microdosing some other drugs and legalizing, is going to help usher this in. I think much like tobacco, Hollywood got blamed for shoving it in your face and glamorizing it and making it look sexy and all of these. There's no denying they've done that with the alcohol. Now, with driverless cars on the way and ride-sharing services already being here, one of the big detriments to people drinking too much, the DUIs and the deaths on the road, all that problem should continuously get a little bit better. So maybe we won't see this be as successful. I mean, people still smoke cigarettes, for crying out loud. Plenty of you this morning are smoking cigarettes, right? But we have seen a mass reduction in consumption of that product, and the PR was part of the reason. Constantly raising the prices on your ass to build everything else everybody else wants to take part in, though, was probably a little bit of it too, though, right? A little harder to make a bad decision at like $30 a pack or whatever the hell it is now. A little tougher out there. Fair enough. I bring it up because I think what I'm seeing here is my speculation coming out a little bit. Because this is not necessarily new information, but it was put back out. And sure enough, alcohol consumption now is tied to 6 different types of cancer. Now, this says excessively drinking alcohol consumption, which normally means 4 drinks or more a week. Now, that's not excessively doing anything, right? I mean, we can't call 4 drinks a week excessively Monday morning in football season, can we? I don't think we can do that. So again, not necessarily new information, but back out. And I think there's going to be a push that's going to start to happen. They say back in 2019, as a matter of fact, 5.5% of cancers in the United States were attributed to alcohol consumption. They say you want to reduce your risk of cancer, lower your alcohol intake. Now, here's the funny thing about that. What some people are going to say, and I don't want to make light of cancer. So many people die of it every year. Every last one of us has been affected by it on some level. At minimum, worried about somebody who may be going through some testing now, waiting on a result now, whatever it should be. That's how common it is. But pretty much I've heard about consuming anything. Well, reduce that and you'll probably give yourself a better chance at fighting off cancer. It seems like most things will lead us down the path of that. Now, that's not a reason to open the Jack Daniels bottle and be like, emptying it out, screw it, Sainsbury's right, it's all over, right? Like, no, not what I'm saying. Not what I'm saying. Increased alcohol consumption was associated with the higher risk for alcohol-related and overall cancers. That, according to a 2022 study. Whereas sustained quitting and reducing drinking were associated with lower risk of alcohol-related and all cancers, of course. Now, again, excessive consumption of alcohol would now, they say, they kind of know, increases the risk for 6 different types of cancer. This would be a lot of these, I think we would go, yeah, I kind of assume that. Stomach cancer, liver cancer. Those two would have been like, yeah, okay, I could see that, right? Esophagus, yeah, I mean, it's technically poison you're pouring down there. Okay, fair enough. Colon cancer, wouldn't be shocked there. Breast cancer would be the first one where I'd be like, huh? I wouldn't have thought of that one first. Again, I'm wondering if not so common, you're skewing some of the data with the numbers. Is like, well, a little too high. Certain types of head and neck cancers is also on this list as well. And I think, again, the PR and the, truth type campaign, I think this is going to start to happen because, I mean, look at how marijuana is talked about. How it used to be talked about. Now it's medicinal. And if you're nauseous with your cancer, smoke a little marijuana and it brings back some hunger and you can eat, and it actually, it can help you in some of these areas versus be a detriment. So again, here comes this story, because this information is not necessarily new, but it was put back out yesterday. I know it sounds like, dude, just victory lap already. Tell us how right you were about this, right? But but you can kind of see it kind of happening a little bit. I'll tell you what's interesting is like when I drink, they say alcohol is nothing. It's nothing short of poison, right? It's essentially what it is. As somebody who enjoyed both things yesterday, alcohol and marijuana, and neither to like an excessive point. Like neither, right? But I did enjoy both of them. I'll watch a little football. I will say that alcohol feels more like the thing that would lead you to cancer while having it than marijuana. Now, the only way that statement's true is when you say when you've had a little too much of it. Because the right amount of alcohol, there's nothing on earth that makes you feel better. A lot of you have a second kid because of how you felt after 3 drinks. I was going to say 6, but I forget, dude, I got problems, right? I got issues that sometimes I try to, bury down in there. And so but after how you felt about 3 drinks, it led to another kid because of how good you felt. But alcohol, that's why it's always been one of the ways I've sold marijuana over alcohol. Alcohol robs you of tomorrow. A boss I had once upon a time said this. I don't know where he got this. But getting drunk tonight is borrowing happiness from tomorrow. But you pay for it tomorrow, right? Marijuana doesn't feel like that. So what I'm saying is like the reality of drinking, it does kind of feel like it would be guilty of what this negative press wave that they're about to go under. They are guilty of what they're about to be accused of, and I'm interested to see what happens with that. So many people enjoy how they feel while having alcohol. I wonder if it will be as successful as the tobacco. I'm going to guess no. Again, a little speculation here. The smell of cigarette smoke and the fact that you could get secondhand cancer because somebody else was smoking, you consuming alcohol may lead to you getting cancer more, doesn't necessarily affect my probability with said issue. They may not be as successful with that push, but here comes that push. Haunted Schoolhouse and Laboratory tickets, I have them. Let's get caller 15 in right now. That at 330-450-7625. Toll-free line is 800-243-7625. Continue the program next here on Rock 106.9.
The Stansberry Show.
Well, I'm not very good, but I play loud.
On Rock 106.9.
Hadn't talked about it much because of the Browns loss yesterday, but Chris Christopherson passed away. That guy had a career and a half, man. When you can be that successful as a singer for yourself, songwriter for other people, performer, film performer, actor is the term there. I mean, you've done quite a bit, right? It's kind of one of those things, though, like I talk about. What are you, really gets remembered. My dad was still alive, he'd be, those guys, like that, those age guys would today would be like, oh my God, right? Like they lost one of theirs. But he was, that guy left his imprint in the world. Most people don't get a chance to do it at that level. We talk about how these can come in threes. John Ashton, I had heard that. That felt like one of those things that had already happened, but a couple of days ago, that one was on the 26th. John Ashton is again, Chris Christopherson is a name you know. Because that's just it. That's how many things that guy did, where his name became something. John Ashton is famous for his role as Detective Taggart in the Beverly Hills Cop series. Now, he was so good in that it's like, what was that character's name? You knew the character's name because of how good that guy was in that role in those movies, and you loved those growing up. So there'd be two there. I haven't seen a third, at least not that I've heard of. It always feels a little weird to be like, who's it going to be? Spin the wheel, right? And plenty of, by the way, plenty of shows and studios, and plenty of studios I was a part of back in the day, had a calendar on the wall, and who's it going to be, and I'll take this bet, and if this happens, then your sponsor has to do this for us, or we do this. That was part of it. Just waiting for people to die. It's kind of nuts. But when you think about the fact that Howard Stern had a counter in his clock waiting for the Olsen twins to be old enough to be obsessing about, that was a little, that's it's a little weird. It's a little weird too, right? Yeah, different time sensibilities, if you will. So those are the two we've seen. I haven't necessarily seen a third yet. I guess we'll keep our eyes out and see if we see that. We were talking about alcohol and the PR campaign. And I've been saying for a little while, I feel like a little bit of what happened to tobacco may happen to alcohol. So sure enough, another article comes out, 6 types of cancer are linked to excessive alcohol consumption. Now, people are going to tell you, and when you see how many people have cancer and get it every year, pass away from it, unfortunately, every year, those people are going to tell you, everything gives you cancer. And the number in 2021, I think, was just over 600,000 people. I think in 2019, it was 599,000. So staying pretty consistent there between those 2 years at least. That seems like a lot. So again, the warning now out about it. Now, when we parted ways in that last conversation, I said, I don't know if you'll be as successful with the alcohol as you were with tobacco, because tobacco, like I've been saying about marijuana, is very intrusive. I understand why people don't necessarily want you smoking cigarettes in the office at work. I miss when the buildings I worked in had a smoking room. It was all right, we don't smoke everywhere, but when I first started at the radio station, they had a smoking room in that building. I'll tell you this, some of the most important lessons I ever learned, about this industry. I got smarter in that room about what I do for a living in here today than any piece of instruction I ever got in one of those, all right, HR is going to make you watch this video. Not even close. Not even close. Sitting around listening to legends kind of tell you how it goes. Now, you could have something like that without needing the nicotine running through the air, but take the point, right? I, as a non-smoker, it's been almost, something like 11 years now. If we had one of those in the building, I'd be like, yeah, all right, let them do what they want, right? But it is an intrusive product. Alcohol, not so much. People have to become really, really drunk for it to impact me. Now, whether or not they're driving cars, yes, that would bring it into it, but that's not handling the alcohol responsibly. That's not just simply the product, that's product plus decision, right? That's, so we can't just simply make that about the product, right? So that's why I was always surprised with the marijuana. I'm like, this stuff stinks, like cigarette smoke. But people aren't as worried about secondhand smoke and the secondhand cancer and all of that with marijuana smoke. That, and we've figured out now, well, yeah, you can smoke that, but not here, not there, not here, not here. Right? It's a little different. Back in the day, it was like, hey, you're allowed to buy these, on the street corner outside, so smoke them anywhere you want on the inside. It was a little bit of a lawless system back in the day, And I think another point we were making is alcohol makes you feel fun, at least early. And it does help bring people out of shells a little bit. I said, joking around, how many of you had a second kid because after how you felt after 3 drinks? And it does kind of happen, right? Absolutely it does. Oh, Maggie Smith from the Harry Potter franchise. Sorry. Yeah, I got a lot of texts on this on the 27th. Yeah, you know what? Sorry, I missed that one. That's a byproduct of two things there. It's not necessarily IP, intellectual property, that is close to me, and nor is it considered to be IP that it would be considered to be target audience. That being said, Harry Potter, big enough, you know what I mean, to where he versed in it a little, knows some of this, and yeah, the houses and, cribbage or whatever the hell, and I got a little bit of that. I missed Maggie Smith. So I guess that would be your three. Here's what I'll say. She's bigger than John Ashton, right? Like, as we brought him into the conversation, it's like, well, if John Ashton is like, hey, a celebrity death has happened, then Maggie Smith clearly makes that list. She's one of those where if you're even keep the Harry Potter stuff out. I got sidetracked off the alcohol thing, but maybe that's a good thing. Keep the Harry Potter stuff out of it. She's one of those actresses that if you were what my dad would have said, look it through the channel, right? Back in the day, you don't really do that as much anymore. My point is, if you see her in something, you'll say, all right, dude, she's in this. This might be good. Let's give this a shot. She's one of those. You will give something you'd never heard of a chance because she was a character actress in it. She's one of those. Those people are important. They make or break things. A lot of times they can do that. So yeah, that would be your third. That would be your third. Absolutely. So I did see this too, and they make me do it a lot here. And apparently it's not the smartest thing in the world. If you're being asked to change your password, what you believe is too often, you should maybe dig your heels in and not do it. We'll tell you why, and also give you that first $1,000 keyword of the day. Get you paid out next year on Rock 106.9.
The Stansberry Show.
Nerd stuff probably really excites you because you're a nerd.
On Rock 106.9.
Welcome back to the program on Rock 106.9. Looking like new Lincoln Park, part of New Chair Tuesday tomorrow. Also another opportunity in Haunted Schoolhouse and Laboratory tickets as well. You guys, a lot of you, not so thrilled that I had missed Maggie Smith. No, nobody's demanding I be fired or anything, but like, dude, how could you forget Maggie Smith, man? Because we were talking about it. Chris Christopherson has passed away. John Ashton from the Beverly Hills Cop series. And Maggie Smith. She was the one I couldn't place and I hadn't heard of. And she, for a lot of you, is mostly known for the Harry Potter series, right? She was one of the best character actresses ever. Like, that lady was capable of stealing any scene she was in. She was never going to be like the leading lady, but she could steal any scene she was in. And you need those people in movies. They're important, right? But I was like, look, Harry Potter isn't necessarily, it's not, I don't know, it's just, I'm not a fan of it. I don't hate it or anything. I don't have to think other people are weird for liking it. It's not necessarily for me. As a matter of fact, I came to the series watching it. One of them had been released in the theater, and this would have had to have been 2009 because that's when I was going out with this woman. But I think she was all of 24 then. I would have been, 33 then, I think. I was dating younger, if you will. And I think the station got premiere tickets or something to that. And she was like, she didn't care about anything else that happened that whole year we were together. Not one other thing did she care about. She was like, Harry Potter? And I was like, yeah, I could probably get us into that. Oh my God. Well, we're going, right? It's like, all right, yeah, I guess we're going. Had to get caught up. I think it might have been the second one. Was that the second, third one? I don't know, whatever the hell it was. But then I kind of had to do the boyfriend thing where you sit there and you kind of watch them, right? I gotta tell you, the first one wasn't bad. There's a stand-up comedian who brings up the point, it's like all she did was rip off Star Wars and tell it differently, and all she did was rip off Star Wars and tell a little differently. That's okay. It's fine. It's fine. Right? But the first one of those I remember, and I'll say, when I'm looking for something to watch and I'm looking through the streaming services, I'll see them and I'm like, well, there's a lot of them. So if you find yourself getting into it, it's like, well, you'll have content for a little while, right? And then I'm always like, nah, but I kind of remember the first one and I don't want to go back and watch that. And it's I never really know where to jump in there. but I'm willing to bet there's more than enough entertaining things going on inside those movies. I have no problem believing that. I think I've actually seen, again, doing the boyfriend thing. That might have been the first 4 of those, maybe, through that with her back then. But looking at Maggie Smith, Romeo, Juliet there, voice. She was in Hook. Now, again, that's a movie. Robin Williams, back in the day, a lot of people my age have a deep appreciation of that movie, love that movie. It's special to them in some way. Movie means nothing to me. Not even sure I've ever seen all of it. I don't care about Hook at all. Sister Act, I remember it being a big thing back in the day. Again, she's in that movie. Whoopi, clearly the star, but Maggie could steal scenes in that movie and did. So yeah, she had kind of cemented herself there a little bit. Obviously, Sister Act 2, First Wives Club she was in. I mean, I saw that movie, but I don't care about it. All the King's Men TV movie. Most people don't care about those. The Harry Potter stuff seems like, again, that was pretty much the bulk of it for, like, me. I mean, she was in Nanny McPhee Returns. I'm not watching that. Like, what the hell am I doing watching that, right? The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. All right, you're getting closer to stuff like I Want to See there. So she was in that. She was in, I believe, the second of those. Yeah, she reprised that role, and she was in those. Downtown Abbey. Now, again, I've heard great things about Downtown Abbey. I've never seen it. I've been told, oh, dude, start watching that. Yeah, that'll pull you right in. And she probably got out a little bit more in front for some people on screen in that role. And maybe I do need to watch that, Downtown Abbey. I've actually never seen it. I've heard great things about it. All right, there was one more death. That was the actor that played John Black on Days of Our Lives. Okay, so again, I said this earlier about John Ashton. There are a lot of people who aren't going to consider that to be a celebrity death. And I don't think most people would consider to be a soap actor to be a celebrity death. Again, a good rule of thumb for a lot of people is if you have to say blah, blah, blah from blah, 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 you probably weren't a celebrity death, which would bring Maggie Smith into it, which it's disrespect. I'm not telling you that's the right way to go about it. It is disrespectful, but that's how people kind of view that stuff.
The Stansberry Show.
You're a very easy man to hate.
On Rock 106.9.
Browns fans unhappy this morning. That loss, tough to take yesterday. 10-point lead. In today's NFL, 10 points is almost nothing, right? No lead is safe in today's NFL. But still, you're up 10, and with a defense that's supposed to be a little better than what they looked, it's a little depressing. Deshaun hitting guys in the numbers. Again, the most amount of drops in any team in the NFL, the Cleveland Browns. Quarterback running for his life. Probably few quarterbacks are going to be successful with those circumstances. And then if you're Deshaun, you got to be successful. Even that much more, because not everybody in your camp, right? Lose to the Giants, lose to the Raiders on the road, and now next week you're on the road at the Commanders, who seem to be getting it going in the right direction. New offensive coordinator in Cliff Kingsbury. By the way, another coach who could not get along with Baker Mayfield in college. I know it sounds like I'm hammering it. I'm not. I'm just saying there are plenty of Baker detractors out there.